Well, hello YouTube, this is Mr. Gibson Guy. Thank you for stopping by my channel. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for, if you are new, please click the subscribe button. Give me a like on this video. If you've never seen any of these, tell your friends about this and share it with others. Today I'm in a continuation of the series on this recently acquired Mamiya M645 1000S medium format single lens reflex film camera from, well, I was going to say the 1980s, but actually this camera came from, I believe, 1976 initially. When I first started out in photography back in 1977, when this was brand new, I didn't even know there was such a thing as medium format photography, but I pretty quickly learned after I had been immersed in 35mm photography for a while that there were some other important aspects of photography that photographers would consider that were found in medium format cameras, not the same thing that you could do with a 35mm camera, which up until shortly before then, the 35mm medium was referred to as minicam photography. They were really real cameras. They were mini cameras, that's what they were called, because they only shot 35mm. But shortly after I bought my Minolta and found out about it, I discovered the difference of having a bigger negative and what it affects your whole picture in quality, and then you can have an average medium format camera and take pictures and compare them with some real high-end Canon and Nikon cameras, and the pictures just wouldn't compare to the lower, well, not really lower price, but that's one of the reasons for this. Mamiya came out with their 645. They'd already been selling medium format cameras, their 220 and the 330 and their RP67 with a revolving back on it. But they saw a lot of promise in the 645 format, and so Mamiya went all, even though they already had other medium format cameras, they went all out on the 645, and I'll just give you a listing of what they were trying to do, that things you could only get in very high-end 35mm camera systems. But these came out with 3 different camera bodies. It wasn't enough to make a 645. They had to make the standard Mamiya 645, then the Mamiya 645J, which was the economy model, and then they came out with the M645 1000S as their top-of-the-line 645 cameras. And these were similar, but each one was a distinctly different camera. And, 2 of them, the 645 and the 645 1000S, all have the same dimensions. The 645J is actually about 5mm narrower in the body. When you look at it across this way, it's about that much shorter, or narrower, so it's not quite as wide as this. So they were definitely all different cameras. And so they had 3 different cameras you could choose from: the cheap one, the regular one, and the expensive one. So they kind of fit them in. Not only that, they came up with this one. It's just a shocker to me. It's really, I just love it. It's like, go Mamiya, what were you thinking? You were just going to take over the world with this. The 5 different interchangeable viewfinders. 5. Hardly any 35mm Pro cameras had removable or exchangeable viewfinders. But these Mamiya cameras, when they were new, they were sold just the body you bought your pentaprism, your finder, separately, and you had 5 to choose from. One of them was this one, little tiny thing. This is almost nothing. I just got one of these, and we'll talk about it some more later. But this is the pop-up waist level finder. So when you would hold your camera down here and look down into the screen here, you would see what the mirror is seeing, only it was reversed, because this way is this way and this way was this way. So everything was reversed, unless you wanted to try to use it turned on its side, in which case your subject, you would look in this way and your subject would be upside down. So a little bit of limitations on this this waist level finder, but we'll find out they're very popular today. Then on top of that, they came out with the PD finder. Well, the PD finder has glass in it, and it's a mirror. It reflects out to here. So this one has this little white button here, and this one was the high-end finder of the time when they came out with this, because this one had the much more advanced and sensitive silicone photodiode light meter built into the camera. So this was their top-end one for serious pros, the most expensive. Then they had 3 more prism finders like this. The CDS finder, which was the same thing, except instead of the expensive silicone photodiode meter that was in the pentaprism, it had a more commonly known CDS, cadmium sulfide light meter that was inside the finder. And then they had another one that had the CDS meter in it, but this one was an auto exposure prism finder, and that gave them, with the auto exposure prism finder, you had aperture priority when you set it up and had the thing turn on. It was, the metering was coming from the pentaprism, which was attached, and was connected with 4 gold contacts. See the 4 gold contacts? Yeah, it's for electric. And that would send the signal back and forth from the camera body to the finder, to the camera body, back and forth from the meter, and it would select the shutter speed, you had it set up right, that would go with whatever aperture you had the lens set on. So that was another finder. And then, wait, there's more. Besides the auto exposure prism finder, there was also a non-metering prism finder. So it looked like this one didn't have this dial on it, didn't have this button on it, didn't have the ASA setting on it. It was just plain and shaped kind of like a little pyramid like this for the pentaprism, and it would attach. That was a less expensive, not as inexpensive as the waist level finder, but that gave you all those different choices to modify your camera as to what you wanted, and we'll talk about that more as we go in here a little bit. There was a battery operated power drive film advance that would go about 1 frame a second, which you run through film pretty fast in medium format. So you can't go for very long. You don't want it to go winding too fast, but that way you could have automatic exposure and you can have automatic film advance, so you can just focus and press the button and focus and press the button, focus and press the button, everything but an autofocus. And now eventually in the descendants of this camera that they have, you can get them in autofocus. All right, there was some of my literature from 1980 to 1981. Look at those lenses. 15 different medium format lenses, all for the Mamiya 645 cameras. That's more. And then they're also talking about, this is a 1981, this is a newer one. This one shows the Mamiya 645 with the motor drive on it, or the power drive they called it, and with their 500 millimeter f5.6 lens. And it's sitting on top of the boxes of all the different, in 1981, different 120 and 220 films you could buy regularly at the camera store. They were commonly available and found right then. So that's, now I've just bought some 120 film, and I got a pretty good price, but it's also way, way out of date, so I don't know just how it's going to work out. I'm going to put that in and shoot my first roll and send it off and see what comes back. But this is the film that was available to you back in the day. So, let's see, film choices, all right, 15 lenses. You had the choice of aperture priority or manual exposure, CDS metering or silicone photodiodes, and non-metered manual. So they put an awful lot into what it was to become of the Mamiya 645 system. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up to you in this video, because if you're watching this, you probably got an idea in your head, what is this more medium format thing? It kind of sounds interesting. And I always liked the idea. I have owned a couple of medium format cameras I bought back in the day, Yashica Mat 124G, which I've just seen some people that are selling one for $500, and people think it's a great deal. And when I bought mine new, it was like $119. So mail order, we'll get it discounted that way. That was our internet of the day, just the back of the magazines, photography magazines. But I had that, and I had a Pentax 6x7, which is even bigger than the 645 format, and it's even heavier. But the 645 coming from 35 millimeter is kind of a natural step up. It's not too bad. Show you. I started out with this one, and this in there, and now that's slid on there. Lens on, line up the red dot with the red dot. Like that. And when I first got this camera, I had my 210 millimeter telephoto with my first lens that I bought because it was really inexpensive. But now I have really great lens. They're kind of high priced, but it's kind of interesting. There's a number of these 645 lenses that are long telephotos that you can pick up for bargain prices, 70, 80, 90 bucks. But what's the equivalent of the 50 millimeter and 35 millimeter format? The 80 millimeter f2.8, which is just the basic standard lens for this camera, is expensive. It's expensive. If you can find one under $200 these days, you're doing pretty good. On top of that, they have another standard lens in 80 millimeter, same focal length, but it's an f1.9. It's a bigger aperture at the front, so it can work in even lower light, and that's a very desirable and very costly lens. They go to about $400 or $500 for that lens. So I've seen people that have them, and it's like, that's an expensive lens, and don't mess around with that thing. It's, this is only a couple hundred. Wow. So there's some things that are holding you back, but yeah, when you want to get started in it, the 210 millimeter is kind of a long lens for starting, mainly because if you have a prism like this with all the glass inside of it, and you have a heavy lens, whether it's the telephoto or the high-end 80 millimeter, you've already got a kind of a heavy camera body, so it's going to start weighing on you because there's quite a bit more. But let me show you one of the other things about this. I have it this way. All right, I'm going to take off the pentaprism, and this I ordered pretty quickly, and I just got it in yesterday. And this is really nice. This camera. There it goes. It pops right in better than the pentaprism. This is, of course, the waist level finder. And I'll show you there's two parts of it. This one I got, if you can see here, it's a little bit scratched up, scuffed up a little bit here, but it still works fine. But there's one piece that's missing, and this flips up like this little wire thing, and there's supposed to be a little plastic thing that goes inside of it that has some concentric rectangles in it, and this is called a sports finder. And you have the center right here, and what you do is you look right down the camera like this, and right here is we're going to be in the center, and it's easier to keep up with your subject when you're doing this as if you're taking pictures of something that's moving, which is tricky to do with this finder. But with the speed finder that I don't have that goes in here, it makes it easier if you're doing something like that. Not the best camera for it, but that's something else. So normally, yeah, you have to pop this up like that, and you see it's boxed off because you can see the ceiling right now, and you can see the ceiling fan going around. How about that? But everything is reversed here. This ceiling fan's going the opposite direction. And with these side panels and back panels here, when you look into the finder, it's dark in there except for the screen. If you didn't, you could get to the screen there and have this thing removed, but you can't see anything because all the light around it makes glare. And if that's not enough, they have another tricky little thing. Push this the right way, there, and see that? There is a focusing magnifier. And see these little white dots here? This thing is removable, and they have 5 different models of this. They're all interchangeable. Something I didn't mention on the other story. And it goes from +1 to -3.5 diopters. So if you wear reading glasses like I do, that's the way that you can make it so you can do your focusing without your glasses on, because your glasses will be right there on that magnifier. And with this, you hold it up and you look right down through there, and you can see everything. This camera has a really bright viewfinder. Did I mention the finder screens? Oh, I missed that line. Right when I went to the viewfinders, there are 5 different viewfinder screens that go into this. Let me show you. Fold that one back, and this closes. Then take this one off. Now, here you go. Here's the view. You can see it, I think. Yeah, I can see it. See the grid lines on there? That's on this particular finder. Or you can have a regular pentaprism without the view, without the grid lines on it, like that. So I have two different finders for this, and there's three other finders that I haven't gotten yet, but I'll probably pick up one or two. I really like the grid, and I like the regular standard microprism that they normally come with. Now, what I was going to get at with this one is that let's get you some history on this. Well, you know how to go around there. There. The waist level finder was originally listed in the catalog as like the budget base priced alternative to if you couldn't afford to buy a regular metered pentaprism and you wanted to just do the old style of doing it. This is the cheapest possible prism choice that you had with the 645. Now it is the most expensive and the most in demand. Everybody who has these 645s really wants to get the waist level finder. You can get the PD finder, which was the real valuable one, with the white button on it. There it is, white button. I've seen these going for working finders for under $100 now. These are going for $200 now and up from that. It's the most simple of the finders, but it's got a lot of demand. People want this finder. And there's, as I can tell, there's two reasons for that. One reason is because when you use this 80mm f2.8 and you use this pop-up waist level finder on your 645, you're going to have the lightest camera option to work with. This thing, with just this very light finder and the very light lens, is very easy to carry around and to use. Also, just a warning to you, Mamiya put their own strap buttons on the here to put a strap on to hold it down, so it just kind of hangs like this or like this. And that's, that's important because you can have this thing slip out of your hand if you carry it around. Your fingers get tired after a while. They can get away from you and it can start to get heavy. So if you can kind of drag it on your neck, you can take some of the weight and relief off your hands from carrying this thing. But if you put the bigger lens and the prism viewfinder on this camera and you start going around with it, real quickly it's going to be twice the weight of this thing. And I told you there's two reasons. One of them is the weight, and it's easier to carry, and the other one is the visual appearance of it. Because if you look at your 645 with this 80mm lens on it and with this this waist level finder on it, it looks like it's a Hasselblad. And so if you want to feel like you're a Hasselblad photographer going around, even though you just spent a couple $100 on a Mamiya, you can have this set up and it all works the same. Oh, it's stuck. All right, I have to unstuck it. Anyway, so that's the story with the Mamiya 645 and with this very desirable waist level finder on it, with all the tricks that it does. But if you, I've been checking lately because I bought this and everything, and it seems like there's kind of a relief in the market right now. If you're thinking about getting one of these, I've seen a whole bunch of bodies which are going for not very much money, like $100, $150, something like that. But the thing is, you got to watch out for is, what do you get with the camera? If you're going to get a lens, it might double the price right there. But you got to have a lens, so you got to. It's like, boy, this camera, this 645 looks like a real steal. What a bargain! I get it for $125 or something like that. But it's not going to have a lens. It's not going to have this waist level finder. I know that, but it's not going to have a prism finder on it, and it also might not have your film, what do they call this film handler here. This is goes in there. This is for 120. I got another one. This is another suggested look if you're going to do this. This one I just opened, you can see, is a 120 insert. That's it. It's a film insert. 120 for a roll of 120 film, and this one is a 220 insert for a 220 roll of film. Now, how often do you see 220 film these days? Not very much. So why would I get a 220? Well, believe it or not, the 220 is probably preferable to the 120. And the reason is that this thing, the gear's connected up to advance the film and to turn the frame counter on the side of the camera. You turn the frame counter, there. If you have it with the 120 film roll in there, and you have it with the 120 the film carrier, your counter will go up to 15, and then those little gears in there tell the camera that's the end of the roll. Time to forward and wind it and take the film out and put in a new film. Well, you get 16 exposures in 645 format on a 645 camera with the 120 film. But if you have the 220 film carrier there, the 220 film carrier, it goes up to 30. So you can get 16 or 17 exposures on your roll of 120 film if you have the 220 film spool in there. If you have the 120 in there, you're only going to get 15. So if you use the 220, you get an extra exposure or two out of a roll of 120. But if you manage to find 220, you're not going to get 32 exposures, because even the 220 carrier limits it to 30. So you can't get those other two. But you're not going to be shooting 220 because you're not going to be able to find it. You're lucky if you can just find some 120. So I have it in here, and I use the 220 spool, and then I can get 16, maybe 17 exposures out of a roll of 120 film. and then I just have to know, all right, I've reached that far, I just got to keep winding it until I can take it out. So it's a little bit of a hassle like that, but it's something to know. You can probably get the 220 spools a lot cheaper than you can get the 120s. So that's the story on this thing. Really cool camera. You got to be pretty serious if you want to get it with waist level, but you can find them out there. I've seen a few, and it is a really cool camera. Like this, I could carry this around for a long time and it wouldn't bother me. But when I first started and I was doing it with this lens on it, 210 millimeters, and with this pentaprism on it, a whole lot of weight, it got to be kind of tiring, kind of fast. So maybe I was just going to get in shape for it. But I would recommend you get the 80 millimeter f2.8 lens, not the expensive one, the 1.9 if you want to spend $400 or $500 and have a lot heavier lens on. I'd rather have it light and it's one stop different. So that's the story on this. The next thing coming up is I could put a roll of film in this thing. Oh, I'm rewinding there. That's why. That's why. It's okay, because I opened the back. I'm going to put a roll of film in this in the next couple of days, and I'm going to do some comparative shots. I'm going to bring a Nikon FE or something with me, and I use that for the light meter and shoot this in manual with the waist level finder on it, and then we'll get some about 16 pictures back from the lab, and we'll see how the Nikon cameras and lenses hold up against the Mamiya 645, particularly this one. And I got my case here. Some of you who've been following with me for a while remember when I got this recently, and I haven't cut any styrofoam yet because I still got a few more pieces to get, and then when I get another lens or two, I think that's about all I'm going to get. Probably 2 lenses, maybe a couple extra focusing screens, but when I do that, then I can cut the foam and I can get everything fit in here and I can have it neatly closed up. So, you can call this your own personal little Hasselblad. It's like the Hasselblad, but it doesn't waste as much film because it's not that silly 6x6 format, which is just throwing your money away. So, this is my favorite format, so consider it. I hope you found this information useful. Give me a like on this video and drop a line down below. Tell me what you think. Do you have a 645 or do you have a Hasselblad? What do you think? I look forward to hearing from you. And until the next time, this is Mr. Gibson Guy, and I'm out of here.